Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on our Monday Healing Steps session here in the Bridge to Healing community. Whether you're tuning in live or catching the replay, I'm truly glad you're here with me. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and type pound replay in the comments. And if you're here with me live, say hello and type pound live. I'd love to know where you're joining me from today and hold this space with you. I'm Janine Nows, your grief and trauma relief specialist. I'm a survivor, a guide, and a companion on this healing path. And I'm here to walk beside you as you move through the layers of your own healing journey with more compassion, clarity, and inner peace. Now, today's session touches something that runs deep for many of us, feeling triggered by family dynamics. Now, this can be one of the most painful and confusing parts of healing. You may have done so much work already, such as therapy, coaching, journaling, personal growth, and yet one phone call, one text, or one family gathering can bring all of that progress crashing down in an instant. Maybe it's subtle, a tone of voice that sounds like criticism, a question that feels more like a judgment than curiosity, or that anxious, heavy feeling in your chest that shows up before you even get in the room. If your body tenses around certain people in your family, if your voice becomes smaller, or you find yourself saying things you don't mean just to avoid conflict, you're not imagining it. You're not being dramatic, and you're not alone. See, these responses are not signs that you're broken. They are signs that your nervous system is still holding on to pain that never got the safety or resolution needed. So today, I want to create a space where you can exhale, where you can feel seen, where you can begin to understand what's happening inside you, not with shame, but with deep compassion. So let's take a gentle breath together as we ground into the space. Inhale deeply and exhale slowly. So let's do that. Inhale. Now exhale. Beautiful. Let yourself settle. And you don't have to fix anything in this moment. Just be here with me and with yourself. So let's begin by exploring why these family triggers feel so intense and why they seem to cut so much deeper than other interactions. So when we feel triggered by family, it can feel confusing, like we're being transported back in time without any kind of warning. So one minute we're adults trying to stay calm or grounded, and the next we're feeling small, powerless, or like we're walking on eggshells. So why does this happen? Because our family is often where the original emotional wounds were formed. It's where we first learned what love looks like and what we might have had to sacrifice to get it. So, if love came with conditions, if you had to stay quiet to keep the peace, prove yourself to feel seen, or disconnect from your emotions just to feel safe, then those early survival patterns can still live inside you. So, when a family member sighs at you, talks over you, questions your choices, or dismisses your boundaries, your nervous system doesn't just react to this moment, it reacts to every moment like it that came before. And here's what's important to know. These reactions are not you being weak or too sensitive. They are your body's way of saying, this feels familiar and it wasn't safe last time. See, trauma is not always about what happened. Sometimes it's about what didn't happen, like the apology that never came, the comfort that was never offered, the protection you never received. That's why family interactions can leave you feeling shaky, unseen, or exhausted. And you might leave the conversation wondering, why do I feel like I'm back to square one? And when really your body is just asking to be understood. So let's pause here for a moment. I want to ask you something gently, something you don't have to answer out loud. Just be present with what arises. Have you ever left a family interaction feeling small, angry, or invisible without fully understanding why? Maybe it was after a holiday gathering or a quick phone call, and then suddenly you felt exhausted, emotionally shut down, or found yourself replaying the conversation in your head long after it ended. If that resonates, feel free to type yes in the comments or just nod softly to yourself. Your nervous system remembers what your mind may have learned to ignore, and that remembrance is not weakness, it's wisdom. You don't have to fully understand it yet. You don't have to know exactly what triggered you. Just noticing that something felt off is a powerful beginning. And that kind of awareness, that quiet knowing inside you, it's not just something to brush aside. It's a doorway into healing, into compassion, and into the truth your body is ready for you to hear. So honor that awareness. Let it soften you instead of shame you, because that's where healing begins. And this is where healing begins, not by pushing those reactions away, but by honoring them, by recognizing that your responses are rooted in old pain that never got the closure or care it needed. So let's hold those parts of you with tenderness. You don't need to shame yourself for reacting. You need someone to say, of course you feel that way. That makes sense. That's what I want you to take in right now. Your feelings make sense. Your responses are valid, and you are not alone in them. But what happens when you recognize all of this and the people around you still haven't changed? If your family never acknowledges the hurt, never shifts the dynamics, what then? So let's explore that now. Now, this part can feel hard because so many of us are holding on to hope that one day the people who hurt us will finally see it, apologize for it, and meet us with love. And while that may happen someday, healing doesn't have to wait for it. You don't have to put your peace on hold until someone else wakes up. In fact, the most profound healing often begins when we realize it's not about them changing first. It's about you coming back to yourself, your voice and your truth, your safety. You get to redefine what connection looks like, and you get to choose how to close someone, how close someone gets to your heart. And you get to decide what honoring yourself looks like in every interaction. So, this next part may feel difficult to hear at first, but it's also where so many survivors begin to feel a true sense of relief. Here's the truth: you don't have to wait for your family to change in order to feel safe within yourself. Now, I know part of you may still be holding on to hope, hoping that one day they'll finally understand what they did, that they'll acknowledge the pain that they caused, that they'll treat you with the kindness, respect, and care you always needed. And if reconciliation is possible, if there's space for mutual healing, that's a beautiful thing. But for many trauma survivors, it's just not a reality, or it's not reality right now. So waiting for someone else to change before you allow yourself peace is like holding your breath underwater, hoping someone else will decide when it's time to come up for air. You don't have to do that anymore. Your peace doesn't have to wait. And your healing is not dependent on anyone else's ability or willingness to understand your story. The shift begins when you realize that you are no longer that powerless version of yourself. You are not trapped in the same roles you once had to play. You now get to decide how much access someone has to your energy, your time, and your heart. You get to say, this conversation is not safe for me right now. You get to say, no, I won't be attending. You get to choose how and if you stay in relationship with someone. And even if you still choose to be around them, you're allowed to show up differently. You can choose presence over performance, grounding over people pleasing, self trust over self abandonment. And I want to name something else here that's often overlooked: grief. You are allowed to grieve the version of family you wish to existed, the version where your boundaries would be respected, where you could speak your truth without backlash, where love felt safe and unconditional. Grief isn't just about loss through death, it's about mourning what never was and what may never be. That grief is real, and honoring it is not betrayal. It's part of the healing. Because when you stop waiting for someone else to offer you the safety you've always longed for, you begin to build it from the inside out. And that's where your power returns. So let's take a breath here together. I'd like for you to go ahead and inhale. And now exhale slowly. Now let that land. And if you're thinking right now, but how do I actually start living this out? You're not alone in that either. So let me share something personal with you, because I've lived this too. And not from the outside looking in, but from the inside, the very same struggle. So there was a time when certain family interactions would leave me completely ungrounded. I'd go in hopeful, thinking maybe this time will feel different, but I'd come out emotionally drained, feeling invisible, or like I'd shrunk myself to survive the moment. And I remember one particular day, sitting alone in my car after a family visit. I felt like I had been holding my breath for hours. And I thought to myself, why do I feel so raw, so off, like I'm 10 years old again? It hit me then. I had learned to abandon myself in those spaces. To keep the peace, I disconnected from my truth. To avoid being criticized, I silenced my needs. That day, something shifted. I began to ask myself, what if I don't do that anymore? What if I start staying with myself instead of choosing silence? It didn't change everything overnight, but little by little, I started showing up differently. I started choosing boundaries over burnout, presence over performance, truth over guilt. And that's what I want for you. Not perfection, not disconnection, but a path back to yourself where your peace is no longer tied to someone else's ability to see you. So let's take that next step together now with a gentle practice, one you can use anytime you feel triggered or overwhelmed in a family interaction. I want to offer you this practice, and one that is very simple, gentle, and grounded in the belief that you can return to yourself even in the middle of a triggering moment, not by pushing the pain away, but by anchoring yourself in compassion. This practice is something I use myself, and I've shared it with many of my clients. It's called the hand to heart pause. It's especially helpful when you feel caught off guard, when a comment stings, and when your chest tightens, or when you find yourself shutting down in a familiar way. So let's try it together now. Wherever you are, go ahead and take a moment to place one hand over your heart. And if it feels safe, gently close your eyes and feel the warmth of your own hand. Feel your breath just as it is. And then softly say to yourself, either silently or out loud, I am allowed to feel this. I am safe to stay with myself. I choose compassion, not shame. Now take a slow breath in and a slow breath out. You don't need to believe every word perfectly right now. Let them land softly, like seeds you're planting, like a whisper your inner child has been longing to hear. This small act, by placing your hand on your heart and speaking to yourself with tenderness, is a powerful way to interrupt the old pattern of abandonment. It tells your body, we are not alone anymore. I am here with you now. And that changes everything. not all at once, but slowly, beautifully over time. Let this be one of the tools you return to when the moment feels too much, when words cut too deep, when silence feels too loud. You are not powerless, and you don't have to disappear to feel safe anymore. Let's move into a reflection now that you can take into your journal, into your breath work, or into your quiet moments this week. So, listening to what you need is what I call this journal prompt here. Let's take what you explored today and turn it inward, gently, honestly, and without pressure. So this week, I invite you to sit with this reflection in your journal or even just in a quiet moment with yourself. So here's the prompt. What do I need in order to feel emotionally safe when I'm with my family? And I'll repeat that again. So it's what do I need in order to feel emotionally safe with my family, when I'm with my family? Now, you might write a single word. You might uncover an old wound. You might find yourself surprised by what rises to the surface. There are no wrong answers here. There is only truth, your truth. And your truth is sacred. If you'd like a little more direction, here are a few prompts you can choose from. So, one is, what happens in my body when I feel triggered by a family interaction? What would it look like to stay with myself in those moments instead of abandoning myself? What boundary or support would help me feel more grounded the next time I'm around them? Let your journal become a safe space to explore what maybe hasn't felt safe to say out loud. You don't have to rush, and you don't have to fix it all. You're simply listening, and that in itself is healing. As we close today, I want to remind you of something you may not hear often. And you are not too much. You are not overreacting. You are not wrong for needing space, clarity, or peace. You are a human being with a tender, wise, and beautiful heart, learning how to care for yourself in ways no one ever taught you. And that takes courage. That takes presence. That takes love. And I see that in you. If today's message stirred something in you, if you felt seen or softened or curious about what comes next, I invite you to schedule a free healing connection call with me. It's a 30-minute space where we can talk about what's coming up for you right now and explore one gentle next step toward the healing and peace you've been craving. No pressure, no fixing, just presence, just care. You'll find a link in the comments below, and I'd be honored to hold space for you. So thank you for showing up for yourself today. That choice alone is something to be proud of, and it's proof you're already healing. I'll see you next time for another healing step session. Till then, be gentle with your heart. You are worth showing up for. You are certainly worth it. Thank you. Bye bye.